At the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells sour and slow when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows,
Caw, caw, caw,
is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today, where the Lorax once stood just as long as it could until somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, the old Onceler still lives here. Ask him. He knows. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock on his door. He stays in his lurkum on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum, cold under the roof, and he makes his own clothes out of muffered moof. And on special dank nights in April, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents a nail in the shell of a great-great-grandfather's snail. Then he pulls up the pail and makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you've paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole with his glovulous glove. Then he grunts.
I will call you by whisper-ma-phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone.
Slop! Down slops the whisper-ma-phone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose.
Now I'll tell you,
he said with his teeth sounding gray,
how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started back such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the swammy swans rang out in space. La la la, la la la. It was then that I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots who frisked about in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. And from the ripulous pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. But those trees, those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what to do. I unloaded my cart, and in no time at all I had set up a small shop. Then I chopped down one truffula tree with one chop. With great skillful skill and great speedy speed, I took that soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. The moment I finished, I heard a gazump. I looked. I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy and spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy.
Mister?
He said with a sawdusty sneeze.
I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs.
He was very upset as he shouted and puffed.
What is that thing you've made of my truffula tuft?
Listen here, Lorax, I said. There's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed is a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets or pillows or sheets or curtains or covers for bicycle seats.
Mister, you're crazy. You're crazy with greed. Why, there's no one on earth who would buy that fool thneed.
But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute, a chap came along. And she thought that the thneed I had knitted was great and happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor, stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy.
I repeat, I speak for the trees.
I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. Then I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all of my brothers and uncles and aunts and said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Wensler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, in that factory I built, the whole Wensler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. And oh baby, oh how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which chopped down 1, 2, 3, 4 trees in one smacker. We were all knitting thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. Until the next week he knocked on my new office door.
I am the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping just as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your chopping my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go round. Now my poor barbaloots have all got the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys!
He cried, and he sent them away. I, the Wensler, felt bad as I watched them all go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant them no harm. I most truly did not. But I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factories, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, and I biggered the loads of the thneeds I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. And I went on biggering, selling more thneeds, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes.
I am the Lorax.
He coughed, and he whiffed, he sneezed, he snargled, he snuffled, he sniffed.
Wensler,
He said with a crumulous croak,
Wensler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swami swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat. And so, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? Well, I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. What's more,
snapped the Lorax, his dander was up.
Let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity-glup and sloppity-slop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Wensler man, you. You're glumping the pond where the hummingfish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary. in search of some water that isn't so smeary.
Well, then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I snapped at the Lorax. Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more truffula trees into Sneeds, which everyone needs. Well, at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From out in the fields came the sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard that tree fall. It was the very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more Sneeds, no more work to be done. And soon my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They got into my cars and they drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. And all that was left beneath that bad-smelling sky was my big, empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a sad, sad backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the fog without leaving a trace. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago, and each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Over the years, as my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So catch.
Calls the once-ler and he lets something fall.
It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You are in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and truffula trees are what everyone needs. So plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack, and one day the Lorax and all of his friends may come back.